Hello there. Welcome back to the booth here in Milwaukee. Randy Buehler, Ian Duke, and Marshall Sutcliffe. And there's tension in the booth. I can't imagine
awesome.
what it's like down in the feature match area.
Owen Turnwald is playing Dream Wrecker to block for Reed Duke, to add Reed to a top 8 that already includes Paolo and John and Martin Mueller and Owen.
Yes, this is
awesome.
This is shaping up to be an all-timer here. Let's head down to the feature match area for round 16 here from Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Buehler and Ian Duke. And we have a stacked round 16. This is, of course, the last round of Swiss. This is going to determine who makes it into the top 8 and who does not get to come back and play on Sunday. And down in the feature match area right now, take a look at the tension. You can feel it. That is Kazuyuki Takemura from Japan. He's playing Obzon. And he's got his hands full this round because he's got to play against Reed Duke of the United States, looking to make it into his second Pro Tour top 8 here. Now, Randy, if Reed wins, is he in the top 8?
Probably.
If Kazuyuki wins, is he in the top 8?
Definitely.
Okay, so that sets the stage for our main match. We've got a lot of other action, of course, in the feature match area, which we'll be updating you on as we go. But before we do, Ian Duke. First, take a deep breath. Yeah, I know. So of course, this is Ian's brother Reed down in the feature match area. How does this matchup look like from both players' perspective? Obzon versus Esper Control.
So from the Obzon deck's perspective, it's the attack deck. It's just trying to get an early board presence, get in some damage, and just kind of overwhelm the control deck. It's got some ways to hang into a late game. Hangerback Walker, as we all know, Obzon Charm, and Gideon is a really, really important card in this matchup because it kind of presents two different types of threats at the same time, Creature and Planeswalker.
Now, what about for your brother Reed? What about on his side of the table here? What needs to happen for him? Is this just as simple as make the game go long, take over?
That's step one, but as we said, the Obzon deck has some tools to hang in there in a longer game. So it's going to be make the game go longer, but then also find a way to kind of clinch it. So Reed has 2 copies of Ugin as his kind of heavy hitters that can lock up a late game, and those are really, really effective against these versions of Obzon because the Obzon deck can't really remove it once it hits the battlefield.
Okay, yeah, and Reed playing a pure control deck here. It's Esper colors, and he's going to kick things off with one of his best 2-mana plays here, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and Reed has to feel pretty good here. Let's see what happens now. First counter goes on Hangerback. Oh, make it a third counter thanks to Dromica's command, which is going to then fight the 2 creatures, and Jace Vryn's Prodigy falls. So not even an activation off of it for Reed Duke, as Kazuyuki makes sure to take that potent card right off the battlefield as soon as possible. He's also created a nice little threat here with the Hangerback Walker. It's a 3/3. It'll start taking chunks of Reed Duke's life total here, and if Reed does find a way to get rid of it, well, more flyers.
Now, Reed has a pretty anemic hand here. I actually think the Jace was a draw off the top on turn 2. He kept the hand with just a bunch of lands, an Arishan Cleric, and a Planar Outburst. So he does not have a good way to deal with Hangerback Walker.
So this turn, he did not play the Arishan Cleric. Is he just going to charge up his Mage Ring network here?
Looks to be so.
Okay.
I mean, playing the Cleric just gains him 3 life and a chump block. It doesn't really help him a lot.
He can do that either anytime he wants.
Yeah, he's not thinking so much about life total pressures, so much as board position. So I think charging up the Major Network helps him get up to bigger things like Planar Outburst and Ugin.
Okay. That's an Unoffensive the foremost on the battlefield now for Takemura, as he's had a really nice little draw to start things off here in his bid for a top 8. Now, interestingly, going on our side tables as well, Randy, we've got Owen Turnwald playing against Paul Dean, and there's some kind of interesting interactions happening over there as far as tournament math goes.
Yeah, Owen's already in the top 8. He could have given Paul Dean a draw so that Paul Dean would clinch top 8, but he's not. He's trying to make it easier for Reed Duke to advance with a win. He may actually wind up doing a favor for Brandon Burton.
Sandy Dog.
Yeah, Sandy Dog may get the 8th seed. Wow, and Owen has just won game 1 already.
Holy smokes. So Owen's doing what we call dream crushing.
Trying to, yeah. Paul Dean is in with a win or a draw, but Paul Dean's tiebreakers are not good. He is out with a loss.
Now, what are Owen's motivations there?
Helping Reed.
His friend Reed Duke.
Absolutely. Also, getting the 1 seed would be nice. He will, in fact, be the number 1 seed and be on the play every round tomorrow if he wins.
If he wins that match. Okay, so we will keep you up to date on that as well as we kind of move our way through our final round of Swiss here.
Oh, Planar Outburst.
And here's Planar Outburst. Now, that is going to help clean up what had gotten to be a pretty threatening board there for Takemura. But as we've mentioned before, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, Ian, nice little threat there with Hanger Back Walker as it's going to leave him behind the 3 Thopters. And we'll also note that the Shambling Vet picked up a counter from Onofenza last turn after attacking, so that's also a potent attacker, too.
Yeah, fantastic start for Takemura here. He had a couple early creatures, and sitting in his hand, he has a Den Protector and Obzon Charm to add some recursion and card advantage to back it up. In addition, his threats were particularly difficult for Reed to remove here. Hangerback Walker is a problem in 2 ways. First of all, the Thopters that come after a Wrath effect like Planar Outburst. Second thing is Hangerback Walker and its Thopters are all colorless, so Ugin does nothing against them. So Reed is in a really, really tight position.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Shambling Vent, the creature land down there as well, makes things even tougher. As only sorcery or only instant speed things are going to be able to deal with that. Reed looks calm. He's just looking at Kazuyuki and trying to figure out what he's doing. Looking at what Reed's up to, cards like Dig Through Time and such are the kind of thing he wants to see to find the right answers, right?
His hand doesn't really have a whole lot going for it.
He doesn't have a lot of time, though.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Reed Duke at the moment.
It's interesting to me that Reed chose to play a different deck from the rest of the team. Both the other Pantheon guys who were through to this top eight already, John Ficklino and Turtenwald, both went with the Dark Jeskai list.
Yeah, Reed actually said this was one of the first decks he started playing in testing, and he just kind of was getting some reps in on his own, and he tested a bunch of different things throughout the process and grinded against the other Pantheon players, but never found a reason to switch off this deck. He just kept winning with it. So there's that Dig Through Time. So one of the best draws I think he could get here, but I mean, he's still in a really, really tight position.
He's down to 8 life here after cracking that polluted delta.
And there are 9 points of power on the board on the opposing side, assuming that Den Protector gets turned face up. Also, we know Takemura has 2 copies of Obzon Charm in his hand to potentially add even more power to his board. So I think we're seeing Reed's maybe final desperation here. Although never say never. Dig Through Time has worked miracles before.
Indeed.
In the past.
Here it is, Dig Through Time.
Did have to tap 3 mana for it.
Yeah, Reed has to find something pretty amazing here. He does have his Mage Ring Network with 2 counters on it, so he's got a little more mana than it looks at first glance available to him. But what can he even find here? This is a great start for Kazuyuki Takemura. Can he capitalize on it and pick up that first game win over Reed Duke to get himself 1 game away from the top 8? Tim Willoughby is down on the floor, and he's reporting that there's a lot of Japanese players eagerly watching this match for top 8. All right, Reed selected 2 cards from his dig and just passed the turn back. And end step, we're going to see Obzon Charm put +1/+1 counters on 2 of the Thopters.
Yes.
This does set up a lethal attack if Takemura wants to go for it. He finds yet another Obzon Charm. He's already played one. He's got 2 more in his hand. Says you've got 4 mana here. It's lethal if he flips up the Den Protector and attacks with just the creatures on board. believe he's got enough mana to activate his Shambling Vent and flip up Den Protector as well. Wonder if he's thinking about maybe Ojutai's Command or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's like Murderous Cut, Utter End, but not really much I think that Reed could put together to stop this many creatures attacking.
Okay. Combat attacks with everything. Remove 2 counters. It is Ojutai's Command. Gain 4 life, draw a card. That puts him to 12. How much is he taking, though? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. He goes down to 2, which makes that Shambling Vent look very, very good. Because, you know, one of the scenarios that we could see here is Reed untapping, playing another Planar Outburst.
Yep, into a Murderous Cut or something like that.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. So Reed picks up a loss in Game 1 against Kazuyuki Takemura. And Kazuyuki is just 1 game away from a top 8 here. Now, on our other tables, we already mentioned that that Owen Turtenwald's up a game as well. We'll be back, though, right after these messages. Standard is the name of the game at Battle for Zendikar Game Day. Put what you've learned from watching the Pro Tour into action on October 24th and 25th at your local game store. Visit magic.wizards.com/gameday for more information. Friday Night Magic has expanded to include all formats. Get ready for Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information. And welcome back to the feature match area here in Milwaukee. We are deep into the last round of Swiss as we're starting to wind down to our top 8. We've got a few players that are already in.
Yeah, you can see Brandon Burton down there in the wheelchair with his mother next to him, helping him play. He is playing for either 8th or 9th here with a win, depending probably on this game between Owen Turtenwald. But Javier Dominguez has taken Game 1 in that match. They're shuffling up for Game 2 right now.
Now we're checking in over here on Owen Turtenwald, who's up a game over Paul Dean. You can get a look at the life totals there as that game starts to play itself out. Again, Owen Turtenwald is in our top 8 virtually.
And Paul Dean would be in with a draw or a win. He's going to have to get the win.
Yeah, sometimes you got to earn it.
Wonder if Owen has any thoughts about that constructed master slot at Worlds as another reason to play. 3 more points here could help him toward,
that's a good point,
toward that
Randy.
world spot.
That's a good point.
I doubt that's super relevant. Like, I think he would, if he was paired against a friend, he would take the draw. But he's paired in a situation where he can help a friend. I think it's trying to help make Reed's path easier is the primary thing going on here.
Also, as you said, better seeding in the top 8, right?
Yeah, if he could have drawn into the 2 seed, but he's behind Ricky Chin on breakers. So the draw would get him the 2. A loss could drop him below that. Will drop him to at least a 3, in fact.
You know, after that last sequence there between Owen and Paul, I'm getting some kind of body language stuff from Paul that, all right, he hit a land. I see. So he was, I think he was worried about hitting a land there, but things are not looking great for him unless he's got a nice play here. All right, he's got a morph here. Okay, so things moving forward here for Paul Dean as Owen Turtenwald looks to clean up here. He's going to knock him down to 9 this turn. Wow, Manus Rider looking great here. I believe there's a Kolagon's Command in hand for Owen Turtenwald, which he can cast to take out that morph right now.
Yeah.
Oh, and destroy an artifact just to make sure that the Hangerback Walker doesn't get out of hand.
Pretty good. Win here means that Reed Duke would be either 7th or 8th with a win. A loss here by Owen, and Reed is either 8th or 9th. It's kind of a big difference. Certainly big enough to play for. Of course, Reed's down a game. Reed's still got some work to do to hold up his end of this deal.
Yeah, we'll touch in on those sideboards in a minute when we get back up to our main match, Ian, and get a little report on how things change post-board. But let's focus in on this quite important match, especially if you're sitting in Paul Dean's seat, as this is his top 8 on the line here.
Looks like Owen missed his 4th land drop.
He did indeed. Paul Dean, though, plays a Gideon right on time.
And they're back playing with Reed's match.
It does look like we're back playing there. So why don't we jump over? That is an absolutely critical match as we start to make our top 8, as we have a potential winning in here on one side and then maybe a winning in on the other side as well for our main match. So let's jump back down there and see what happens in game 2. Now, Ian, you've been looking at these sideboards. What do you see in here?
So I think Takamura is going to bring in some additional hand disruption, or some hand disruption, I should say. He doesn't have any main deck. A couple copies of Duress and Transgress the Mind will probably come in. And he has option to bring in extra Planeswalker threat in Sorin, maybe Tassiger in case the game goes long. Reed, on the other hand, has some pretty good options here, too. He's got 2 copies of Dragon Lord Silumgar, which seems perfectly fitted against a deck full of mid-range creature threats. A copy of Disdainful Stroke. 3 copies of Surge of Righteousness. Hitting red or black creatures also hits things like Siege Rhino or Anafenza.
Where are Reed's lands?
Oh, no.
Oh, he's got an Anticipate.
Got an Anticipate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also got Clash of Wills.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I get
Clearly
what
takes a land for the Anticipate.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, you're not wrong here. This deck wants to hit every land drop forever.
Yeah, fortunately, he has a hand that's pretty decent at defending himself early on. He's got Clash of Wills. He's got a Fathom Feeder to block a Ground Pounder. Fathom Feeder, a card he brought in off the sideboard.
And Takamura is going to be patient here and just pass the turn back to Reed Duke. Reed
Meanwhile,
is considered another Anticipate here.
Yeah.
It looks like Reed also has a copy of Dig Through Time in his hand, so with these Anticipates and Polluted Deltas, he should be able to get up to that pretty quickly. So if he does get stuck on lands, he can always cash in a Dig to find more. So
Did he find a land there?
I think so.
Okay.
This is actually, I think, a pretty fine start from Reed's perspective.
Yeah, this is
here.
working out. The 2 Anticipates have worked out just fine.
Yeah, it looks like he found a Sunken Hollow off that Anticipate as well. And like you said, Ian, he's already got 4 cards in the graveyard here.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Takamura hasn't played a spell yet.
Yeah, Takamura being patient here, but you don't want to play too much into Reed's hands here.
It's not patient, right? It's just his draw.
He just can't cast anything?
He could have cast 1 Transgress the Mind. It's the only card in his hand he could play for less than 4.
Huh.
Right. It's a pretty slow draw for Takamura.
He actually can't, right? Because that's a Windswept Heath. That can't find a black source?
What's the land on top?
Looks like he just top decked a Flooded Strand. That would be his first black source. So he wasn't able to cast Transgress the Mind up until this point.
All right, looks like he is going to go ahead and fetch up some of that black mana.
Gets the basic planes first, so it'll come into play untapped.
Yeah, I think Takamura would have loved to run the turn 3 Transgress into turn 4 Gideon, but just now found his black mana. I do believe that land, the leftmost land on his board, is a Canopy Vista.
Transgress is interesting. Converted mana costs 3 or greater. You know, it's good at taking away threats, but many of the answers, it's not as good at. All right, and it looks like it was just a Siege Rhino that Takamura went for there, but Reed Duke Clashed of Wills. And this is a big turn here because Takamura has to keep loading up the pressure on Reed Duke. Otherwise, he's going to start resolving Dig Through Times and just run away with this thing. You can see that Duke has an Ojutai's command in his hand in case another creature is the threat for Kazuyuki Takamura. Land. And he's going to play Gideon, which is interesting, as Reed does not have a way to interact with that right now.
Yeah, he just drew Ojutai's command, which would have been great on the Siege Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
If he could have Ojutai's command, he'd be able to sync this one with Clash of Wills, but
Now,
not the order he drew his cards in.
right, but he can actually dig here with 2 mana up, right?
Yeah, and Reed plays 4 copies
3 mana.
of Clash of Wills and probably brought in a Disdainful Stroke. So
Does
he's
he
got-
have Scatter to the Winds also?
He does too. Yeah. So if he can Dig with 3 mana up, he's got many, many ways. Even 2 mana gives him plenty of ways.
Yeah, he can. Right? Six cards in the yard there. So this is an important dig through time because letting a Gideon get out of hand here is going to be tough.
So this is all in response to the Gideon. So if Reed does find a counterspell off of this, he can
Now,
stop that
it
Gideon.
looks like
Chooses to
Reed-
tap a third land so that he can leave and anticipate in his graveyard for some future chase to flashback. Does mean scatter is not good enough, though.
Looks like no scatter, but there is an Ugin there. That is a game plan.
But yeah, he did not find an answer immediately, at least. Still, it's dig through time. He does need to be careful about the way that he puts those cards on the bottom as well, because I've seen him in the feature metro get to those cards.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he will have that in his head right now about what order he put them in, because he just rips right through his library. Seen him be very deliberate with that. So that's 6 mana now for Reed Duke, 2 away from an Ugin. And here's a Fathom Feeder.
So a key interaction that may come up here is we know Takemura has been sitting on a copy of Transgress the Mind, and Reed kept one of his 2 Ugins off of the dig through time. So if Transgress gets that Ugin, it actually exiles it, which would prevent the Haven of the Spirit Dragon from bringing it back. And that's one of Reed's 2 main win conditions.
So that could be big
The other
for
one being the
Kazuyuki.
other Ugin.
The other one being the other Ugin, yes. I would be willing to wager that he brought in his Dragon Lord Silumgars too, so that's probably another way for him to win.
There it is. Transgress the Mind.
Kind of funny how
You can take any of these cards.
stumbling on black mana has done Takemura a favor. I don't know. I guess he would have been pretty happy to hit that dig through time a couple of turns ago.
The exile here being so key on this.
No, you're right. You're totally right. You have to. Wow. Owen Turtenwald just tried to steal a Wingmate Rock with Exert influence. Abzan Charm as a response made it too big. And I think they're still in game 2 down there. Yeah, still in game 2. But both life totals below 10. You have to take Ugin here, right?
It's the obvious pick, but it, of course, is going to have to match up with what Takemura has in his hand. He does take the Ugin, though.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Brandon Burton has won his second game. He's forced a game 3 versus Javier Dominguez. The winner of that is going to wind up 8th or 9th.
All right, it looks like Kazuyuki's getting aggressive here. He just plussed his Gideon and attacked with both.
Huh.
Reed is going to trade off Fathom Feeder for a Night token and take a big hit here.
Draw a card, return to play.
Sure. I mean, he's got
And
Ojutai's command set up.
He's got
to bring it
Ojutai's
back.
command to get back the Fathom Feeder and draw a card on end step. Reed's at 12.
And
All right,
Murderous
and
Cut.
this is all on Takemura's end step, the Murderous Cut. Finds one of its only targets, Fathom Feeder. You know, he brings those in to be able to kill Jaces. But Fathom Feeder's just fine as well. And here's a Duress. Nothing to get
Swing and a
there.
miss.
Yeah, it's just Tassiger and a pair of Forests there for Kazuyuki. So at least Reed knows what it is that he needs to deal with now. It's just a question of, does he have the tools to do it? Hits his 8th mana now and passes the turn back. He's got that planar outburst in hand, but
Doesn't deal with Gideon.
yeah, and he knows about it. Reed has murder. Reed does have a Murderous Cut in his hand, but again, I think Takemura knows about it from the Transgress the Mind. So we may see him transition. Oh, he's got another transgress.
Not a bad top deck.
Wow, that's good. Counting up
So
his
worried about the
mana.
awaken on planar outburst.
Yeah.
The Awaken on Planar Outburst being 8 mana for Awaken 4.
He
Takes
took the
the cut
murderous
anyway.
cut. Time may be winding short here for Reed Duke. Takamura's played this very well. Put himself in a good position with this Gideon. And Tassiger is going to hit the battlefield as well.
With the mana to activate it, and just a Siege Rhino left in his yard.
In the meantime, Takamura is just going to get in for damage here again.
Owen Turtenwald wins his match 2-0. Paul Dean is all but eliminated from this top 8. He's going to finish top 16 on tiebreakers. Going to have to content himself with an invite to Atlanta.
And you know what that means? Reed Duke is clear now. If he can win this match, he's going to be in the top 8. But he is way up against it here in game 2, and he's already down a game. Here's Planar Outburst. He's just going to cast it, it looks like, and pass the turn back.
Yeah, kills the Tasker, but Tasker turns up a gets a new transgress the mind.
Reed Duke is out of gas. His hand is just a land.
Yeah. Looking pretty good for Kazuyuki Takamura.
It's looking
Activate
very good for
Shambling
him.
Vent, and that's
And
it.
yes, that does it. So Reed Duke falls to Kazuyuki Takamura, who was playing a clean win in there.
Yep, he
And
is absolutely
Kazuyuki's
in.
going to be in our top 8. And he's-
Brandon Burton now is the guy who's got the opportunity. Owen Turtenwald tried to clear a path for his buddy Reed Duke. He may, in fact, have cleared a path for crowd favorite Brandon Burton. How
okay.
cool would this story be?
Wow, that's insane. Let's go down there and see what they're doing. It looks like we've got a
we
mirror
are right
match
at the
here.
beginning of Game 3.
This is the Atarka Red mirror here that we're watching.
Brandon Burton playing his second Pro Tour.
Brandon plays a lot on Magic Online.
He does.
His name is Sandy Dog.
Is that how he qualified?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
how he qualified. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Same for Joe. 17. Go ahead. 16. Yep.
And he's going to pass the turn back to Javier.
Okay.
This could be quick. Don't go anywhere, kids. If you're at home, this is an Atarka Red mirror, and these can end very quickly.
Yep.
Got a quick glimpse of Elizabeth. That's Brandon Burton's mom. She just helps him hold the cards. I don't think she's an avid Magic player herself, though.
Comment. Yep. No blocks. 3. Yep.
No block, says Brandon Burton. Takes 3 damage, down to 15.
Yep.
And a McKindy Slide Runner. All right, so Javier has the slightly bigger version of the deck here. I don't think Brandon's playing Slide Runners, and there we go. Wild Slash to take it down.
Well, if I recall, I think Brandon's version is a lot more burn heavy than many of the other Atarka Red decks.
Serving him well today. He's 11-4 and maybe playing for top 8.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean for Javier, though, Randy?
I mean, their breakers are almost identical. The
Okay.
winners, I mean, Brandon's are slightly better, but it's in the 3rd decimal point. With Owen Turtenwald winning his match, but Reed losing, the winner of this is probably 8th.
So Owen has effectively opened up a slot in the top 8 here.
Yeah, he knocked Paul Dean out. Dream Wrecker mission was accomplished. It means Owen will be the #1 seed. He'll be on the play all day tomorrow, however long he lasts.
15 to 14.
And it means Paul Dean will be finishing somewhere in the top 16.
Javier Dominguez surveying the scene here. He knows that there's not a lot of wiggle room here, and he knows what's on the line. Brandon Burton tapped out here, so not much he can do.
Dominguez is a Grand Prix champion. He won GP Paris back in 2014. He's played 19 Pro Tours. Silver Pro with about 30,000 in career winnings.
That qualifies him as a regular.
Yeah.
So for those of you following along the our other storyline that's still going in the feature match area, that's Yuta Takahashi versus Ryoshi Tamada. They're going to game 3. Now, they're both sitting in 11-4 right now, Randy. What does it mean?
The winner's in. They have the
winner's in
best
there.
breakers in the scrum. So that the winner of that is going to cleanly win on tiebreakers. They're going to finish, 7th or 6th or something.
Now, did we just see Javier not attack there? Did he pump the brakes, Ian? It looks. I think what I saw is him just say go
Cards in hand. 4.
after playing an Abbott.
Well, he did get an attack with Zergo that traded for two Dragon Fodder tokens, 2 Goblin tokens.
But he kept back his Monastery Swift Spear.
That's right.
Okay.
Not wanting to attack into 2 tokens.
Oh, I got a nice view of Brandon Burton's hand here.
Exile this one. Put him in there. Force. Okay. I'm going to play that. Okay.
All right, so Abbott exiles a forest, which Brandon plays immediately.
And then attack for 2.
And he's just going to keep chipping in there with Zergo.
Hook. No effects. Okay.
Brandon Burton, again, a Magic Online player, so he
Response.
knows all the interactions with no effects. I often hear that from the Magic Online guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ooh, and here's a Wild Slash
Jeez.
now.
That's right.
Post-combat to leave Javier Dominguez with no creatures. Brandon Burton working his way forward here. This is game 3.
Draw. Yep.
Although it looks like...
Do you think he knows? By the way, do you think these players were keeping an eye on what was going on with Owen?
Probably. They also know that they're 11th and 12th coming in. They know they're on the edge. They're sitting in the feature match area in the last round of the Pro Tour. You can't miss that part, right?
It's true.
I don't think they're confident that they're definitely in, but
All right, was that an upkeep Titan strength?
No, this is he played an Abbott, revealed a Titan Strength
hit the
off
Titan
of it,
Strength.
and he's casting it just for the Scry or an additional card to delve.
What is he writing down over there? Doing some math?
Yeah, he might be. Odd.
Maybe he's making a grocery list for
I
later?
think he's doing math.
Is he just running the numbers here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like I see definitely some numbers there.
Yeah, you're right. Interesting. Take a look at Brandon Burton and Elizabeth.
That's a
Oh, look at this. Hooting Mandrills from Javier Dominguez. He's going big?
Yeah,
combo.
we weren't kidding when we said the bigger version of Atarka Red.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
4/4 Trampler.
We've seen people playing so many copies of Become Immense because it's so easy to delve. Well, if you're delving, a 4/4 Trampler is pretty awesome, and Trample being the key here goes
Totally.
really well with all those pump spells.
Teamer Battle Rage.
Oh, yeah.
Ferocious pre-enabled on the Hooting Mandrills.
How many cards in your graveyard? 3. Attack with the Abbott.
All right, Abbott's going to hit the red zone here for Brandon Burton. It does have one prowess trigger this turn from Hordling Outburst.
Thinking.
And Javier says, I'm going to think about that one.
Brandon has a Fiery Impulse, so he can get a second Prowess trigger, get it to 4 power. I think Brandon is hoping that Javier will block with Hooting Mandrills. Can kill the Abbott, Prowess trigger, kill the Mandrills.
Yeah,
Trade
that
anyway.
does sound nice for Brandon.
I don't think... I mean, Javier, it's 1 Prowess trigger and there's an untapped land. Like, I don't think you block. Yeah, I think if you're going to block, you block with Abbott. The problem is that a Prowess trigger would turn that into a chump block.
But Brandon's not interested. He knew what his plan was if Javier decided to block with the Abbott, and he immediately binned his own.
Yeah, well, there's no juicy target for Fiery Impulse other than the Abbott. I don't know. He could have impulsed the Abbott pre-combat and just attacked with a 4-power guy.
That's a line.
He may also just want the Abbott, or sorry, want the Impulse so that he can trade this way with the Mandrills.
Right. He's going to double block.
So I don't have a good graveyard count on Javier, but
Looks like
is
4.
a Tarka's command plus Become Immense? That's a lot of damage.
4 on the
Wow,
yard.
that is
not,
a lot.
not quite enough, I think, here. Tarka's command adds 4, Become Immense adds 6 for a total of 14, and there's 2 blockers, so that would leave Brandon Burton at 3.
I mean, you can hear Brandon asking for the graveyard count, too. I think he's well aware of what's possible with a Become Immense here.
Yeah, I think he's been experiencing that from his own side.
Oh, sure.
So I think maybe you fire off the Become Immense here just to get the full value out of it. There's an argument to holding on to the Tarka's command and hoping you get some more creatures on the battlefield later on, or just kind of using it as a trick to keep your Mandrills alive. Because you're only getting, you're always guaranteed 3 damage out of the Tarka's command. Here,
Yeah.
you're only getting 1 extra on the Mandrills. So it might be worth holding on to that.
Yeah, I like the way you're approaching this here, Ian. And it looks like Javier's decided on the same. Become Immense.
10-10
Turns that Hooting
Mandrills.
Mandrills into a 10-10.
Just the one card in your graveyard?
So tramples over for 8.
It's a huge hit, and it also takes away the plan from Brandon Burton of being able to take out that Hooting Mandrills with his Fiery Impulse.
Makes your tokens.
Okay.
And I'm at 8.
You're at 7. He's at 13. Thank you.
Check for 1.
Yep. Drop 7.
Go ahead.
Well, he's just going to run back
Yeah.
that same plan as before by attacking for 1. This does not play around Atarka's command, but see if it works out for Brandon.
Burton going for the double block here, hoping to get a Wild Slash after combat to take out the Mandrills.
Head in hand.
And also playing around a Tarka's command here. Now, Javier could Fiery Impulse 1 of the tokens and a Tarka's command, and that represents lethal. And he has a Wild Slash to back things up in case things go wrong.
It looks like it just happened.
Okay.
So Brandon can go to take down the Mandrills.
But
then
yeah,
he can
Javier
just
still
save
has
it?
Wild Slash and a Tarka's command.
He's
though,
also
so-
just got 5 points of burn in his hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon goes to finish off the Mandrills, and Javier
bang,
has a
bang.
response.
And that's going to do it. Javier Dominguez is going to defeat Brandon Burton here and put himself in a really good position for top 8. Brandon Burton, great showing here this weekend, and we will be seeing him in Atlanta
Oh, yeah.
based off of this finish, but
Yeah,
it looks like no top 8 for him this time.
Wins that Pro Tour invite with a match to spare. So we got 1 spot left in the top 8 now. Which Japanese player will be joining their countryman in the top 8?
That is the question.
Kazuyuki Takimura, having knocked off Reed Duke, is in. As long as they have a result here, one of Yuta Takahashi or Ryuichi Tamada will be in on tiebreakers.
We mentioned earlier that Yuta Takahashi already has a Pro Tour top 8. And he's just been rumbling right along with Obzon, though we did see him lose last round. And it looks like Tamada has a nice answer here with Disdainful Stroke, but a strong follow-up play from Yuta, all in the same turn, is Tassiger the Golden Fang. Like you guys mentioned a minute ago, we are in Game 3 here with everything on the line. This has been a really intense round. This round 16 is always like that, this one particularly so. Things moving forward here for Tamada. Get a look at Takahashi there.
So with all the crazy 4-color decks we've seen all weekend long, this is just Jeskai versus Abzan.
It is, isn't it?
It's 3-color Jeskai, no fancy splash, versus 3-color Abzan with no fancy splash.
It kind of feels like home. Got used to it. So Jace Telepath Unbound plus Hangerback Walker here. And was it a Jeskai Charm that put Tasigur back on top?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what happened there while we were shuffling up. And that's a major setback here, as Takahashi doesn't look like he has a graveyard at all, so he's going to need to hit another land drop just to be able to play Tasigur, though he has it. But in the meantime, that last thing that Tamada did, resolved the treasure cruise. So,
By the way,
setting himself up for some really nasty stuff next turn potentially. And Takahashi looks to be a bit behind here. Planeswalker, creature, bunch of cards in hand for Tamada, while Takahashi's just kind of scrambling to get a board presence back together.
Well, there's Silkrap. That's the best Hangerback Walker answer in the format, pretty much.
That's it. That just locks that thing right out.
Oh, by the way, Siege Rhino.
Last one got countered, but not this one. So a really good turn for Yuta Takahashi as he adds a big threat and takes out one of the threats from Tamada. Oh, but man, the fireworks are just keep flowing down here. Now it's Gideon. And that is a slightly more meager Siege Rhino now, only 2 power. Tamada knows that Takahashi has a Tasigur in his hand. Meanwhile, the Gideon's under assault here from a Siege Rhino. But a block is actually going to keep Gideon at full 4 here. Assuming everything pans out the same way it sits. It will kill the Knight token, though. Oh, Tamada reminds him, hey, that's a smaller Siege Rhino you got. And there is the follow-up play, which is Tasigur, but that turn was not over yet. Fiery Impulse finishes off the Siege Rhino. This isn't, what is this? Oh,
Jeskai Charm again.
Jeskai Charm again. That Tasigur has been bounced to the top of the library twice now. And Tamada's beating down now with Gideon. He's playing the tempo game beautifully here. He's even got a replacement Jace. Tasigur the Golden Fang hits the battlefield. Feels like Tamada's getting close.
And there's an option for a flashback treasure cruise in the graveyard. And possibly another one in his hand, actually, it looks like.
He's going to do Fiery Impulse plus Fiery Impulse here out of the graveyard. That can get him in for 5 more. And really limit the number of cards that Yuta Takahashi can draw here.
Jeez.
And it's another treasure cruise, but he's seen enough. And Tamada is through. You said this is a winning in, right, Randy?
Absolutely.
So that's it. Tamada defeats his countryman and puts himself into the top 8 here in Milwaukee. That's also going to wrap up our coverage here down in the feature match for the Swiss portion.
Yeah, a couple of Grand Prix top 8s for Ryuichi Tamada, but his first Pro Tour top 8.
Yeah, super exciting stuff down in the feature match. I know you guys at home can feel the same amount of tension that we feel here from the booth. Yeah. Incredible stuff coming down the stretch. Any thoughts, Randy, as we kind of exit the Swiss portion here?
This top 8 is awesome.
It's unreal.
I mean, it would have been a little more star-studded if we'd gotten a certain Duke brother in. I'll give you that. Right? And, I mean, the Brandon Burton story would have been fun to watch. Whatever. John Finkel, Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. That's 25 top 8s right there. I'm 2 guys in.
You're adding them in, yeah.
Owen Turtenwald with a 3rd Pro Tour top 8 of his career. You know, throw in Martin Muller as your sort of up-and-coming wunderkid trying to, you know, break through that silver status, get up to gold or platinum. Just an awesome day set up for tomorrow, however the top 8 announcement plays out. We will have a sweat, though, with a couple of room for a couple 36ers. We think we probably know who they are. But
okay. Well, you know what? Let's
sure.
send over to the news desk. Richard Hagan, I'm sure he has all the information for you at home to figure out exactly how this top 8 is shaping up. Rich, what do you got for us?
the letter D, Marshall. It's Dean or it's Dominguez. It's pretty much that straightforward. The previous 7 are locked, and then it's either Paul Dean or Javier Dominguez. Now, the way it works, Dean was on 56 and bits in terms of opponent match win percentage. That was his tiebreak coming in. Dominguez, 59 and change, so a couple of percentage points between the two. So that is what we wait for, really, in the top 8 announcement. Who will be the 8th seed? Will it be Javier Dominguez of Spain or Paul Dean of Canada? The 7 who we know are in, Ricky Chin in his first ever Pro Tour, Paulo Vitor Rosa, Owen Turtenwald, Martin Muller, John Finkel. From Japan, Kazuyuki Takamura and Ryoichi Tamada. And then Dean Dominguez. Let's talk to someone who really doesn't need to worry about Dean or Dominguez because his name begins with Ricky Chin.
Thanks, Rich. I'm here with Ricky Chin. Ricky, this is just an unbelievable story to me. You've been playing Magic for quite a while.
Yes.
But only seriously for the last 2 years.
Yes.
2 years ago, you said, you know what? I need to find more competition. You kind of were doing very well at the local level. You said, I'm going to look for Grand Prix. I'm going to try to get to the Pro Tour. 2 years later, here you are. And what I'm imagining is happening right now, home in Quebec, is people are going, that guy?
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I've played that guy.
Yeah, and I've probably beaten him.
It's an amazing story. This is your first Pro Tour, and I got to tell you, I would not have expected it. Tell us how your tournament started, please.
I started 0-2 in the draft. First,
0-2?
Yeah. First round was against Craig Wesco, and he beat me 0-2-0, I think. I think I played poorly, so I was thinking, I need to make day 2, and that's about it. And if I do, then tomorrow I can cash in if I do top 75. But that was my own goal.
So your goal was just like, all right, I've got to get on track here so I can make day 2, maybe come back, win a little money. Talk to me about after you play Craig Wesco, you have a little interaction with him.
Yeah, he gave me his card with his face on it. And
so the pro players get a pro player card.
Yeah, there's a description behind. And the first thing it says is, I participated in my first Pro Tour in 1999. And I thought to myself, what? I didn't even play Magic at that time. That's impossible. And that was.
It's one of the amazing things about Magic to me because we're looking at a top 8. Here you are playing in your first Pro Tour.
Yes.
You're top 8 of your first Pro Tour. By the way, in the lead for Rookie of the Year right now. You are going to be in the mix for Constructed Master. You went 8-0-2.
Yes.
With your Green-White Megamorph deck. And, but at the same time, there are players in this top 8. John Finkel in this top 8, 15 Pro Tour top 8s. Paulo Vitor Rosa, 10 Pro Tour top 8s. Not just Pro Tours, just the top 8s.
Yeah.
How do you get your mind around being in the same bracket as those guys?
With the same mindset that I played in this tournament, I played every round. I already played the matchup, so I know how to play against them, even if it's Paulo or John Finkel or anyone. I think that I can probably just play like I practiced, and I think I can beat them.
Now, speaking of practice, this is kind of interesting because you really are living the dream because you did this without a super team.
Yes.
You came, you played your first Pro Tour, you and some buddies preparing, and here you are in the top 8. But that's a little tricky now because you need to get a good night's sleep. You said.
Yes.
But you also do need to test the matchup, look at the specific cards of the sideboard. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to check every deck list, see who I'm going to play against or probably going to play against, and try to work on sideboard plans and if there's video, how they play the deck. Do they usually play it more aggressively, passively, or I'll try to do that. I don't know if it's available on YouTube or.
It'll all be available.
Okay.
And maybe you have some friends home who can help you test the matchup. But here you don't have a huge support network.
No, I came here with a friend that's also qualified for the Pro Tour, and that's about it. I don't have a team behind me.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go out on the floor. do some high fives, maybe make some friends.
Yeah,
Pascal
probably.
Menard maybe can put in a little work for you.
Yeah.
So, for Ricky Chen, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Seriously
Thank
awesome. Just a great story. Good luck tomorrow. You legitimately will need it.
I know.
I'm Ray David Marshall, taking it back to the desk.
It's true, you will need luck tomorrow because they all will. You cannot win Pro Tours. You cannot make top 8 with the cards falling your way somewhere along the line. Now, a couple of people from England who've done terrific work this weekend. Momentarily, Fabrizio and Terry just want to take time to say well done to him, the English national captain for the World Magic Cup. 11-5, he ends up defeating Pedro Carvalho in the last round. So 11-5, that's great stuff. But that is not the highest place English finisher, because that honour goes to Autumn Burchett, who finished 12-4, beat Seth Manfield in the penultimate round to get to 11-4, finishes 12-4 by beating Sam Black with that tremendous retreat to a Merrier deck that we saw in the deck tech just before that last round. So congratulations. In her very first Pro Tour, Autumn Burchett, 12-4. Phenomenal. That may well be enough for top 16 somewhere around there. Now, Peter Viren and Will Urker, they were on 11-4 coming into the last round, and they sat down at each other, they did a little bit of math, and they went, yeah, we're not making top 8, let's intentionally draw. So they got a point each. Right now, it's Dean or Dominguez for 8th place. It's entirely possible that the winner of Viren Urker would have been 8th. Well, they get to 34 points, they get lots of cash, they're certainly back for the next one, so we'll see exactly how the math breaks down. But it does look to us like Viren and Urker maybe had a shot at top 8 and did not take it. So that's them. Tim Wu, 11-5, defeating Zvi Moshowitz in the last round. And Antonio Del Moral Leon, former Pro Tour champion, ranked number 15. He gets to 11-5, winning his last round against Pat Cox. More results as they come in. But right now it's time for a little chat with another of our top 8 people, someone who's been here before, and before, and before, and before. Here's Palavita Damarosa.
Rich, you left out at least 4 befores. 6 befores. 6 befores, even. I wasn't really counting. Paulo Vita Damarosa, Pro Tour Hall of Famer. How does it feel? Like, it's going to seem weird for people at home, right? Because you've been to the Pro Tour top 8 9 previous times. This is your 10th trip to a top 8. But oddly, this has to feel like a relief for you.
It does. It feels great. I think the first couple of times, I did so well so early that I didn't really have a grasp on what the reality of the PT was, how hard it was. Like, top 8 again. And I was going to keep doing this. And then I stopped. I started losing and losing and losing. And I wondered, can I ever win again? And well, it turns out I can. So it feels great.
And it's not something that's happened overnight at this Pro Tour. And it really happened at the back end of the last Pro Tour season, where you got, you had the Esper Dragons deck that did so well for you. You had the top 16 or top 17 there, and then some Grand Prix success. But it's kind of interesting to me. People talk about, Pro Tour teams like you switched. For that Pro Tour, you were working with the face-to-face and Channel Fireball team. For this, you're working with the face-to-face guys specifically. What was that transition like for you, and how difficult was that to sort of like recalibrate your experience?
It was not that difficult because the way it worked, I tested with CFB, and then I tested with both, and then we're just face-to-face. So I had experience testing with the face-to-face people already, and we were already good friends. So I wouldn't say it was a hard transition or anything. It was different because I think I've been playing with the same guys for many, many years, and these are. I've been playing with the other guys for 2 PTs,
right.
So it doesn't really compare in that regard. But I think it was still fine.
But there's definitely something about being in sync, because the guys from the original Channel Fireball team that you worked with, they really wanted to look to go into more of this kind of almost Team Ultra Pro method of testing, where they're testing much more on Magic Online, and you really like that kind of immersive, people in the room playing with physical cards. experience. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, I think so, and especially important for me because I don't play much Magic outside of tournaments. There are some people who will play Magic online 8 hours a day, and that is not me. Sometimes I don't play a game between 2 major tournaments, so I really need the time to immerse myself in it. Otherwise, I'll just forget everything. Like I've played a lot, so a lot of things are second nature to me, but I still need like 1 or 2 weeks to remember everything, to see what the new decks look like.
And how much of that is also you absorbing stuff from other people, asking them like, so, what do you know about this? How was this card? How much of it is like all that kind of like little like just grabbing of information from all sorts of different parts of the game?
A decent amount, I think. It usually just saves you a lot of time. If I think that there's something that I'm not sure about, I'll go and try it myself. But just being able to go, like, is this card good in this matchup? And have someone tell you, no, it's not. I'm confident it's not. You're like,
and being
okay.
able to trust that.
Yeah, and we're like, I'm not even going to try this card because my 2 teammates who played this matchup said the card wasn't good, so I don't have to waste time on it. I think that is very valuable. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. Get ready with playtesting. I have one question for you. I want to think about this. When was the last time you played in a Pro Tour top 8 where you did not have the most top 8s in that tournament?
That was probably my last PT top 8. Hawaii, I think.
Because John was in that Pro Tour
also
top
in
8.
it,
Okay.
yeah.
It was a trick question. You got it. Good on you. I'm going to let you go. Paulo Vitor, Dominic Rosa, good games tomorrow. Sending it back to the desk with Rich Hagon.
Thanks very much, BDM. Want to start this little segment with a public service announcement. A lot of you, I know, will be watching on headphones. That's fine, and I hope you can hear me. In a little minute or two, we'll be having the top 8 announcement. In that top 8 announcement, John Finkel will be called to the stage. When that happens, this room is going to go nuts, and your headphones are going to ring at a very, very, very loud volume. So you might want to turn things down just a tiny little bit, because that is going to be a really tremendous moment. Finkel, utterly beloved in the Magic community, and when he is announced for his 15th Pro Tour top 8, yeah, the roof is going to be raised. Meanwhile, other people who are perhaps a little bit further behind, not going to get quite that recognition. Shota Yasuoka, Hall of Famer now, of course, we can say that following his induction earlier this week. He ended up 11-4-1, had to beat Craig Wesco to get that final win. So Wesco 10-5-1. Guillaume Medeiros Meillan was right in the thick of things overnight. He had a disappointing day today, 7-1. Overnight, ends up 11-5 for the Brazilian. That's still a great performance, and by winning that last round, that guarantees that he will be back. Remember, 33 match points, 11-5 is enough to bring you back. John Stern defeated Lucas Xiao. John Stern seemed to just be drawn against Canadians all the time. That's what happens when you're near the top tables. Talking of another Canadian at the top tables, Sam Thalmaratnam, who for a long time was just paired with Patrick Chapin all the way through the tournament in terms of their record with the one draw. He ended up with 11 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, defeating Pierre Dajon. So another excellent finish for Sam Thalmaratnam, who is quietly one of the most underrated, underappreciated, unknown, very, very good players in the professional world of Magic the Gathering. So well done to Sam. Another rock solid performance, because that's pretty much just what he does. Other names, Brian Kibler, the Dragon Master, who began the morning, we watched him draft yesterday morning. He ends up at 9-7, defeating Thomas Vanek of the Czech Republic. Matt Nass had a decent day at the office, 10-6 in a little sort of Channel Fireball-esque square off against Ben Stark, who falls to 9-7. Jerry Thompson defeated Makihita Mahara in the final round for Thompson to go to 10-6. But we have someone else from the top 8 across the studio. He's only 18. That means it must be nearly his bedtime. Why don't we head across and talk with Martin Muller?
Thanks, Rich. I'm here with the World Magic Cup champion. But you know what? Last year ended up being something of a heartbreaker for you. Talk to me about how the season ended last year, where you ended up.
Yeah, I ended 1 point short of gold. And it was like, it was pretty huge. Like I had a lot of chances. I blew them all. I had and I didn't have my the GP gap filled out. So it was like, it feels.
So any GP finish would have really done it for you.
Exactly.
Wow. And then so you come into the season at silver. And but you get you get back on the World Magic Cup team though in the WMCQ qualifiers, right?
Yeah, like also, like it was like pretty tough, like missing on goal, but so I was like a little pissed about Magic, but but then like I definitely didn't want to quit, and like played Worlds like at the beginning of the season, and it went like pretty well. Like day one was like 6-1, and not the best day two, but like that was like a boost that really like put the fire on again. And then after winning like the VMCQ and like joining Martin and Daniel and Christopher Larsen on like the World Magic Cup team is like now I really want to like make what I can out of this season.
So you come here, you're on a silver invite, and talk about your weekend. I mean, because this is your first top 8. Like, we've seen you win, but your first Pro Tour top 8. How does that feel for you?
It feels insane. Like, yeah, it's just incredible. Like, just like the dream every time you go to a Pro Tour. It's like the first step at least is to top 8. So it's amazing.
Well, what's the plan overnight? Who's gonna? You're with Team Eureka.
Yeah.
You guys, you've got one of the larger teams to work with. What's the plan as far as preparing for your top 8 matchup?
Yeah, we're probably going to test like a lot, like in the evening and also like tomorrow morning, probably between like the rounds. Have a pretty good record when it comes to winning top 8. I got the 2 last one, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable that the team can help me with that.
Okay, yeah, it's true. You've got the streak.
Yeah.
You've got it was formerly known as Team Tomo. The last 2 Pro Tour wins go to that team. So you're the lone representative in this top 8, keeping the streak alive.
Yeah.
Weird question. You're a young guy. You don't need a ton of sleep, but what's your goal for how much sleep you want to get tonight?
I think I've got 6 hours the last 2 days, so a little more would be nice.
Okay, and you want to wake up. You'll get like a printout of like everything you're supposed to do in the matchup, and
I think I would advices and then figure out what I want to do.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to let you go. Get working on some of that playtesting, maybe some of that sleeping. Martin, congratulations. An amazing start, a great recovery from what could have been, very easy to sort of kick the can down the road and sulk, but great job, and I can't wait to see you in action tomorrow. Martin Mueller sending it back to the news desk. We got a Hall of Famer joining us over there.
All right, thanks very much to Brian David Marshall. He'll be joining us right here at the news desk momentarily. But I have been joined by Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. Before we get into tomorrow, where another slice of Magic history will get written, let's just take a moment to go back to the very start of this week, this Pro Tour week, and the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Wednesday. What was your take on that? Because we haven't really had a chance to talk about that.
I mean, the ceremony was so emotional. I mean, the headline is obviously Eric proposing during his speech. And if you haven't seen the video on that, it's full of the feels. It was awesome.
All of the feels, yes.
Every once in a while, I'd see somebody around the table who's going to kind of make some joke to their friend, and the neighbor would just be in tears. Plenty of people in tears as that happened. But it wasn't just the Eric Froelich proposal. Shota Yasaoka spoke English. I've never heard Shota speak English before. He clearly practiced for hours and hours for that moment to be able to give that speech in English.
And it's not just that he gave that speech in English.
He gave it well, of course.
He gave it well, but it was also expansive and emotional.
Yes.
I've interviewed Shota multiple times through translators, and it has come off as brusque and not, and I don't. Yeah. I mean, just like he's just
very few words,
very matter of fact. Like, well, yes, I thought this would happen, and
I should have led with Shota spoke, and then Shota spoke English. Is the other upset?
Yeah, I mean, but it was really great to get that kind of peek into. Yeah. He has not let people into sort of his gooey interior very often.
It's a great point. He had the Japanese traditional garb on, and really did sort of let his guard down. I think you're exactly right to say it that way. Yeah. And I mean, Willie's speech was also great. I think Willie had more people in tears than anybody did.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. You watch it. Willie was sitting right there in front of the screen where they were showing the photos, and as soon as the photo montage started rolling, you saw Willie
Your hand should be shaking a little bit.
And yeah, and he was just crying. He was just choked up. He was like, "Oh my God, I've been doing this for a long time," And as it was sort of hitting him, and then when Paulo started talking, right, and Paulo's like, Paulo, of the 10 Pro Tour top 8s, of the Hall of Fame career, of the Pro Tour victory, you know,
and he's just like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Willie.
Yeah, it's just what a great moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of things with both Willie and Ifro as well, and it ties in with seeing Paulo in this top 8 here. And you look at the situation where they're all people for whom life has gone through different ups and downs, like all of us, peaks and troughs. But the magic has aligned with their lives getting aligned away from the tables, where they've taken the decision that it actually doesn't matter what is on the top of the deck, to quote Randy's most famous line of all. It doesn't matter because having my child matters, my marriage matters, getting married in the case of Eric matters. And for Paulo, the period of 12 to 18 months, BDM, that you talked about where he was in his trough, well, that was in that period where he was back in Brazil trying to complete a degree, trying to decide whether at 24 he was a gamer or was he a businessman. Is that what he was meant to be? And now here he is, his life's together, and he understands who he is some more.
And to sort of play off what you said, which is not to say that the family matters and career matters and school matters. It's not to say magic doesn't matter, but it's to sort of almost say this match of magic doesn't matter. What really matters for someone, that this is a pillar. Magic is a pillar of their lives, but any individual game doesn't matter so much, and you can sort of go, what really matters is playing Magic well, playing Magic, finding a way to continue to play Magic and to make it a holistic part of school, work, family, and
ultimately the thing that's always mattered most about Magic is the community.
Right.
It's just an awesome group of people, and to be part of that community is why you see people keep coming back to the Pro Tour. Maybe they're not testing as much as they did 10 years ago, but it's just an awesome community to be a part of.
Sure, again, think about that photo montage from the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
What are the photos that really made you go, wow, right? And it's everyone going, oh my God, right? It's like all these friends shaking each other and in disbelief and high-fiving and carrying someone on their shoulders and commiserating in some cases.
And Willie with a full head of hair. I can make that joke, I hope.
That's pretty good. Now, tomorrow, we will see very likely a spectacular moment because with the top 8 that we are close to knowing in its entirety,
one match left.
How could we not? How could we? I believe that one match is done and that people are waiting with bits of paper. If bits of paper are coming into my right hand now, that means that later, during the top 8 announcement, you, like everyone else, will be able to find out who's 8th. Is it Paul Dean? Is it Javier Dominguez? Now,
and it's not just that. It's also who's
the pairings.
Who's playing? This is a ridiculous top 8. What are the matches we're going to see? Right?
Where's Finkel? Where's Paulo? Where's Owen? Where's Martin Mueller?
Yeah, it is crazy. You look at Ricky
You're a
Chin
cold man, Rich. Hang on.
What?
A cold man.
In what way am I? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't even look. You just...
One word, my friend.
You're distracting him from the throw to the top 8 announcement.
Peace.
So I forgot something this morning.
Ricky Chin. Let's just take a moment there because, look, Paulo, 10 Pro Tour top 8s, Owen, 3, Martin Muller, World Magic Cup captain, 18, John Finkel, 15. Fine. Ricky Chin, his first Pro Tour. Awesome. No one gets to do something like this.
We were talking about it a little bit in the chairs. Wow. Someone got to do this.
Yeah, Josh Cho.
I didn't make it. I didn't go undefeated in constructing the way this guy has.
Right.
No one's beaten him yet.
They made you play more rounds
tomorrow?
back then.
Well, that's fair. Well, there were no limited rounds. Still.
But Ricky, I said, wow, what's the plan? He's like, I didn't even think about it. He's like, I was out there. Pascal Menard's talking to me, and he's like, so who are you playtesting with? And he's like, oh wait, I've got to playtest, and I've got to sleep. I don't have anyone here with me. I have one friend with me, but he can't play test by himself. I can't play test by, what am I going to do?
I 100% guarantee that there are approximately 15 Canadians in a queue waiting to help him be the best he can be tomorrow.
I got the feeling Pascal Menard was sort of maybe passively offering his services there.
Had you thought who might play test for you?
Maybe Ricky hadn't completely worked it all out.
Well,
he was so starstruck.
It is his first PT. So Ricky Chin is there. Other great stories, Kazuyuki Takamura and Ryoichi Tamada. I was trying to think the last time we had two Japanese players at the forefront. Outside worlds, you had Kentaro Yamamoto and Yuya Watanabe, of course, in that scenario. But great job by both of them. So that's sort of 3 of the 8. You've got the 4 sort of megastars, if you like, in PV, Owen, Martin, and John, of course. Then Ricky Chin, Takamura, Tamada, and then this big question of who finishes 8th. Now, what is your take on dream crushing, Randy? Because you are a hard and brutal human being who would willingly destroy anyone's dreams if that aligned with yours and your teammates' needs. But since that is not your role right now, if you had the choice of Paul Dean or Javier Dominguez, do you have a sneaking, I'll be honest, I would like to see Paul Dean in because I don't like seeing dreams crushed.
Yeah, I mean, I think Owen. I have nothing wrong with what Owen did. In fact, I think Owen was supposed to do exactly what he did.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I guess I would feel bad for Paul Dean if he actually got dream crushed into 9th.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable rooting interest if it's, if you're neutral, as it were.
Yeah, and I mean, Javier Dominguez is terrific, and he is the sort of the parallel storyline with Antonio Del Moral Leon. You know, these two guys go to all the European GPs together, and the European feature match area regularly has 3 and 4 of them in their blue hoodies going at it. You know, we've literally had the 4 tables full of that team.
And from the Hall of Fame perspective, Javier worked with Willie Adel on the Dex Army team for this, as well as Antonio Del Moral Leon. So
I'd be easier to root for him if he played the 4-color Dragons deck, though. I love their 4-color Dragons deck, the Dan Ward special.
Yeah, that deck was your Teamerai.
There you go.
All right, so do you want to pick a winner yet tomorrow? You don't, do you? You want to go and see what the matchups are?
I want to see the bracket.
Well, we are waiting for the top 8 announcement. We are just moments away from that. And as it happens, I actually don't know who finished 8th. So I just didn't want to know that either. I want to find out with all of you. Owen Turtenwald, I'm trying to think when his first 2 of these were, but it's hard to imagine him as the 3rd favourite in a top 8 behind Paolo and John.
He's the 3rd biggest name. I don't know that makes him the 3rd favorite.
Okay, would you?
I mean, look, we sat down and talked limited pods. I picked Owen over John to win their limited pod earlier this morning.
That's true.
Owen is one of the most talented players playing right now. I mean, look, John and Paolo are also both players, but I think if you just look at who's in form, I think Owen might be the pick.
I'll be quite interested to see how he responds to this top 8 moment, because my sense is in the way that Patrick Chapin was not indifferent, that's not quite the right word, but on a trajectory that was higher than anyone was really imagining, that this was the entryway to a top 8 competition for something higher again. Honestly, I'm not sure Owen's worked out how he's not world champion. Not from within the game, and not because Seth
he was
Manfred
one game away.
Right.
It was game 5. It was super close. That's a great point. I hadn't really thought about it in that context, but Owen's last big tournament was the just heartbreaking game 5 defeat against Seth Manfield. I mean, not that Seth didn't play great, and I mean, Seth had some mana screw issues, but whatever. Owen was 1 game from being the world champion, from winning $50,000. And yeah, now it's actually, good on him to come back at the next big event, and he's right back in the top 8 again.
Yeah, my sense is, and it's the same storyline with Martin Muller, BDM, of that it was one short, a different target, but nonetheless, 1 short, and now all business, and let's not let that happen again.
Martin didn't say, I was going to quit Magic at some point, but what he did say was, I decided not to quit Magic.
Wow.
To come so close to be on top of the world, to be the World Magic Cup champion, to be like, okay,
to be gold.
I'm not platinum, but I'm going to be gold. I'm locked in. I don't have to sweat all of this throughout the year, and then to come a point short on every level was heartbreaking for him.
We know 7. We don't know 8. We call it the top 8 for a reason. Let's find out who is the top 8 of Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our top 8 announcement. In first place with 40 match points from the United States, Owen Turtenwald. And in second place with 38 match points from Canada, Ricky Chin. In third place with 37 match points from Brazil, Paulo Vitor Tamada Rosa. In fourth place, with 37 match points from Denmark, Martin Mueller. And in fifth place, with 37 match points from Japan, Kazuyuki Takamura. In sixth place, with 37 match points from the United States, John Finkel. In seventh place with 36 match points from Japan, Ryoichi Tamada. And in eighth place, with 36 match points from Canada, Paul Dean. Hi, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, your top 8 for Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar.